There comes a moment in every life when we realize that the greatest battles are not fought with strangers, enemies, or critics. They are fought within our own hearts. We spend years believing that peace will arrive when difficult people finally change, when unfair words stop being spoken, or when life becomes kinder. Yet the truth whispers something entirely different. Peace is not a gift handed to us by the world. It is a decision we make again and again, regardless of what the world chooses to do. Every one of us has encountered people who misunderstand us, judge us without knowing our story, criticize our dreams, or wound us with careless words. Some wounds are loud, others are silent. Some arrive unexpectedly from strangers, while others come from those we loved the most. We cannot always prevent these moments, but we can decide whether they will become permanent residents in our hearts or temporary visitors passing through. The remarkable thing about the human spirit is not that it never hurts, it is that it can heal, it can grow, it can learn to stand so firmly in its own truth that the storms of other people's opinions no longer uproot its joy. The strongest person is not the one who wins every argument, but the one who refuses to let anger become the author of their story. Imagine waking each morning without carrying yesterday's resentment. Imagine hearing criticism without surrendering your confidence. Imagine facing disrespect without allowing it to steal your dignity. This is not weakness. This is not pretending that pain does not exist. It is the quiet courage of choosing wisdom over reaction, compassion over bitterness, and freedom over emotional captivity. Today we will explore how to live with a heart that cannot easily be disturbed, how to protect our inner peace without building walls around our souls, and how to discover a strength so deep that no insult, disappointment, or rejection can define who we are. Because when you truly understand your worth, other people's behavior loses the power to determine your happiness. Your peace is precious, your joy is sacred, and no one deserves the authority to take either away unless you hand them the keys. Master your emotions instead of reacting instantly. There is a quiet space between what happens to us and what we choose to do about it. Most people rush past that space without ever noticing it. They hear the harsh word, and another harsh word leaps from their lips. They feel the sting of rejection, and bitterness begins to bloom before the heart has had a chance to breathe. They encounter disrespect, and their peace is traded for a moment of satisfaction that disappears almost as quickly as it arrives. But you are not called to live as a prisoner of every passing emotion. You are not the echo of another person's anger. You are not the reflection of their impatience. You are not required to become what has been thrown at you. There is a remarkable strength in learning to pause. A pause is not weakness. It is wisdom gathering itself before it speaks. It is courage refusing to surrender to impulse. It is the soul remembering that every moment offers a choice. The world will often celebrate quick reactions. It mistakes loud voices for powerful voices. It confuses winning an argument with winning a life. Yet history has shown us that those who leave the deepest marks upon humanity are rarely those who react the fastest. They are those who carry themselves with dignity when dignity is difficult. They choose grace when anger seems justified. They answer hatred without becoming hateful themselves. That kind of strength is not born overnight. It grows quietly. It grows each time you decide that your peace is worth protecting. Imagine holding a cup filled to the very top with clear, precious water. Every sudden movement causes the water to spill. The fuller the cup, the more careful your steps must become. Your heart is much the same. If you rush through every disagreement, every criticism, every misunderstanding, you will continually spill the peace that took years to gather. Slow down. Breathe before speaking. Listen before judging. Think before answering. These simple acts possess extraordinary power. There are people who will test your patience without ever intending to teach you anything. Yet every difficult encounter can become a lesson if you allow it. The impatient co-worker, the rude stranger, the family member who never seems to understand your intentions, all of them unknowingly present you with the same invitation. Will you allow someone else's behavior to determine your own? The answer to that question shapes the direction of your life. When someone throws anger into the world, they have already chosen what they will carry. You must decide whether you will pick it up. Not every gift placed before you belongs in your hands. Some insults deserve silence. Some arguments deserve distance. Some misunderstandings deserve time instead of immediate explanation. Wisdom knows the difference. There is an old truth that remains fresh with every generation. No one can make you lose your peace without your participation. Others may create noise around you, but only you can decide whether that noise will become the soundtrack within you. This realization changes everything. You begin to understand that emotional freedom does not come from controlling people. It comes from governing yourself. You cannot command another person's tongue. You cannot rewrite another person's character. You cannot force kindness into a hardened heart, but you can choose your response. That choice belongs entirely to you. Some days it will be difficult. There will be mornings when exhaustion shortens your patience. There will be seasons when disappointment makes every criticism feel heavier than it should. There will be moments when injustice seems too great to ignore. Even then, remember this: responding with wisdom does not mean pretending pain does not exist. It means refusing to allow pain to become your identity. Feel what you need to feel. Acknowledge your hurt. Honor your humanity. Then let wisdom guide what comes next. The strongest trees do not survive storms because they fight every gust of wind. They survive because they bend without breaking. Their roots reach deeper than the violence above them. Your roots are your values. Your roots are your integrity. Your roots are your understanding that your character matters more than your reputation. People may misunderstand you. They may criticize your silence, calling it weakness. They may interpret your patience as surrender. Do not be discouraged. Those who judge your calm often have never discovered it themselves. There is a profound freedom in realizing that you no longer need to prove yourself to every voice demanding your attention. Some conversations are invitations away from your purpose. Some conflicts are distractions disguised as opportunities. You have permission to walk away. You have permission to remain silent. You have permission to protect the sacred ground of your heart. That is not avoidance. It is maturity. The greatest victories rarely happen in public. They happen quietly, within the hidden places of the soul. They happen when no one applauds your restraint, when no one notices the words you chose not to say, when only your conscience knows how close you came to anger and how deliberately you chose peace instead. Those unseen victories reshape your life. Little by little, you become someone who is not easily shaken, not because the world has become kinder, not because people have stopped being difficult, but because your inner life has grown stronger than the circumstances surrounding it. One day, someone will expect your anger and receive your calm. Someone will expect retaliation and receive kindness. Someone will expect you to carry yesterday's resentment into today's conversation, only to discover that you have already laid the burden down. In that moment, they may never understand what changed, but you will know that strength is not measured by how loudly you can answer an offense. It is measured by how faithfully you guard the peace that lives within you. Every sunrise offers another opportunity to practice this sacred discipline. Every conversation becomes another chance to choose patience over impulse. Every disappointment becomes another reminder that your emotions are valuable servants but dangerous masters, live from your deepest values instead of your loudest feelings. Let your words be thoughtful. Let your silence be meaningful. Let your heart remain open without becoming unguarded. And wherever life leads you, carry this quiet truth like a lamp through the darkest nights. The person who truly masters life is not the one who controls everyone around them, but the one who has learned, with humility and grace, to govern the kingdom within their own heart. Stop taking other people's behavior personally. There comes a season in every life when we discover a quiet truth that has been waiting patiently for us all along. Not every word spoken about you is truly about you. Not every sharp glance is aimed at your soul. Not every unkind action is a verdict on your worth. So much of what people offer the world is simply an expression of what they carry within themselves. A person who has been wounded often sees wounds everywhere. A person who has lived too long in fear may mistake confidence for arrogance. A person who has forgotten how to love themselves may find it difficult to celebrate the light in someone else. None of these things diminish your value. We often spend precious years believing that if someone dislikes us, misunderstands us, criticizes us, or refuses to appreciate us, then perhaps there must be something lacking within us. We become detectives searching our own hearts for flaws that may not exist. We replay conversations long after they have ended. We revisit moments that cannot be changed. We allow another person's opinion to become louder than our own quiet understanding of who we are. But there is freedom in remembering that every human being views the world through windows shaped by experience. No two windows are exactly alike. One person looks through the glass of disappointment, another through the glass of hope. One has learned to expect betrayal, another has learned to believe in kindness. When they look at you, they are never seeing only you. They are also seeing the stories they have carried for years, the disappointments they have never released, the fears they have never spoken aloud, and the dreams that still ache beneath the surface. This realization changes the weight of criticism. It does not mean every criticism is false. There are moments when another person's words contain wisdom that can help us grow. Humility welcomes honest correction. Pride refuses to listen. The challenge is learning the difference between constructive truth and misplaced pain. Wise people examine criticism without allowing criticism to define them. If a gardener hands you a seed, you plant it because it has the potential to produce life. If someone throws stones, you do not bury those stones in your heart expecting flowers to bloom. You leave them where they belong and continue tending the garden entrusted to your care. Your heart is that garden. Be careful what you allow to take root. Resentment grows quickly when watered by constant reflection on someone else's behavior. So does insecurity. So does bitterness. Left unattended, these weeds spread until they begin choking the joy that once grew so naturally within you. Yet peace grows differently. Peace requires intention. It asks you to pause before accepting every opinion as truth. It asks you to remember that another person's inability to see your value does not erase your value. The moon does not disappear because clouds refuse to reveal it. The sunrise remains faithful even when storms hide its light. In the same way, your dignity remains intact even when another person fails to recognize it. There will always be those who misunderstand your silence. Some will call it weakness because they have never learned the strength of restraint. Others will misunderstand your kindness because they have only experienced kindness offered with hidden conditions. Still others may resent your joy because it reminds them of what they have not yet found within themselves. Do not allow these misunderstandings to become chains around your spirit. People speak from where they stand. If they stand in fear, fear shapes their words. If they stand in envy, envy colors their vision. If they stand in peace, peace becomes their language. This truth invites compassion rather than condemnation. Imagine walking through a village where every person carries an invisible backpack. One backpack is filled with grief that has never been shared. Another is heavy with regret. Another contains years of rejection. Another hides loneliness beneath carefully practiced smiles. You cannot see these burdens, yet they influence every conversation, every reaction, every judgment. The stranger who speaks harshly may have spent the morning saying goodbye to someone they love. The impatient driver may be carrying anxiety no one else recognizes. The friend who withdraws may be fighting battles too private to explain. This does not excuse harmful behavior. Kindness should never require accepting abuse. Healthy boundaries remain necessary. Respect remains important, but understanding allows us to stop making ourselves the center of every negative encounter. Not every storm follows you because you caused the rain. Sometimes people simply arrive already carrying clouds. When you begin to understand this, forgiveness becomes less impossible. Compassion becomes more natural. Your shoulders become lighter because you stop carrying responsibilities that never belong to you. How exhausting it is to spend every day trying to manage other people's opinions. How liberating it is to realize that such a task was never yours. Your responsibility is not to convince everyone of your goodness. Your responsibility is to live so honestly that your conscience rests peacefully at night. Some people will celebrate your success. Others will question it. Some will admire your courage. Others will criticize the very choices that gave you life. If you chase universal approval, you will spend your days changing masks instead of becoming yourself. The world does not need another imitation. It needs the gift only you can bring. Walk gently, but walk truthfully. Speak kindly, but speak honestly. Love generously, but do not abandon yourself in the hope of being accepted by everyone. The strongest people are not those who are loved by all. They are those who remain loving even when misunderstood. One day you will encounter someone whose words would once have wounded you deeply. They will offer the same criticism, the same doubt, the same dismissive glance. Yet something within you will remain still, not because you no longer care, but because you finally understand. You understand that another person's opinion is information, not identity. You understand that their reaction belongs to them while your response belongs to you. You understand that your worth was never placed in their hands to begin with. And that understanding becomes a quiet freedom no one can steal. Carry yourself with the confidence of one who knows that every soul is walking a different road. Offer grace where you can. Set boundaries where you must. Listen with humility. Learn when wisdom appears. Release what does not belong to you. Above all, remember this enduring truth. People will see you through the lens of their own lives, but you must learn to see yourself through the deeper lens of truth, purpose, and compassion. When you no longer measure your value by the changing opinions of others, you discover a peace that cannot be shaken by criticism, diminished by rejection, or stolen by misunderstanding. You become free, not because everyone finally approves of you, but because your heart has finally stopped asking them for permission to know its own worth. Protect your inner peace through forgiveness and compassion. There is a quiet strength that the world often overlooks. It does not shout to be heard. It does not demand attention. It moves gently through ordinary days, healing wounds that anger could never touch. That strength is forgiveness. It is not the denial of pain, nor is it the approval of what was wrong. It is the courageous decision to stop allowing yesterday's injury to govern today's heart. Many people believe that holding on to resentment gives them power. They imagine that replaying the offense protects them from being hurt again. Yet resentment asks a high price. It quietly steals sleep from the night, joy from the morning, and hope from the future. It persuades us to carry burdens that grow heavier with every passing year. The person who harmed us may have moved on long ago, while we continue carrying the weight of a moment that no longer exists except in memory. Forgiveness is the gentle act of setting that weight down. It does not erase what happened. It does not pretend the wound never existed. It simply says, I will no longer let this pain decide who I become. That decision changes everything. Imagine walking through life with a backpack filled with stones. At first, the load seems manageable. You convince yourself that you can carry it. But with every mile, the stones become heavier. Your steps slow, your shoulders ache. You begin to forget what it felt like to walk freely. Bitterness is much the same. Every unresolved hurt becomes another stone. Every old grievance adds another burden. Every memory wrapped in anger makes the journey more exhausting. Then one day you discover that you have a choice. You can continue carrying the weight, or you can begin removing the stones one by one. Each act of forgiveness lightens the load. Each decision to release resentment creates room for peace to enter. Peace has always needed space. It cannot flourish in a heart crowded with revenge. Compassion creates that space. Compassion does not mean ignoring justice. It does not require you to remain in unhealthy relationships or accept repeated harm. Wisdom teaches us to forgive while also establishing boundaries. A heart can remain open without becoming unprotected. A soul can remain kind without becoming easily wounded. There is profound freedom in learning this balance. Some people will never apologize. Some will never understand the pain they caused. Some may not even remember the words that changed the course of your life. If your healing depends upon their acknowledgement, your freedom remains in their hands. But your healing was never meant to depend upon another person's awareness. It begins the moment you choose to reclaim your own heart. Compassion often begins with a simple realization. Every person is fighting battles we cannot fully see. The impatient cashier may be carrying unbearable worry. The neighbor who speaks harshly may be grieving in silence. The friend who disappoints you may be struggling with fears they cannot name. This understanding does not excuse harmful actions. People remain responsible for their choices, yet compassion allows us to respond without adding more pain to a world already filled with it. Think of a river flowing steadily toward the sea. Along its journey, branches fall into its waters, stones interrupt its path, storms muddy its clarity. Yet the river does not stop flowing. It moves around obstacles, over rocks, and beyond the debris that momentarily blocks its course. Your heart can become like that river. Life will place obstacles before you. People will disappoint you. Words will wound you. But you need not become stagnant because of what entered your path. You can continue moving toward hope. There is remarkable dignity in refusing to let another person's darkness extinguish your own light. Kindness is never more powerful than when it survives disappointment. Mercy is never more beautiful than when it grows where bitterness could have taken root. Love is never more genuine than when it chooses healing instead of retaliation. This is not easy work. Some wounds reach deep. Some betrayals leave scars that remain visible long after they have healed. Some losses reshape the landscape of the heart forever. Give yourself permission to grieve. Allow yourself to acknowledge what was lost. Healing does not demand pretending that pain was small. It asks only that pain not become permanent. Every sunrise carries an invitation. It whispers that today can be different from yesterday, that today you can breathe a little deeper, smile a little easier, trust a little more wisely, love without surrendering your dignity, forgive without forgetting the lessons you have learned. The heart is wonderfully resilient. It has an extraordinary capacity to bloom again after seasons of hardship. A forest burned by fire eventually welcomes new life. Fields that seem barren discover spring again. The human spirit too possesses this quiet miracle. It can begin again, not because the past disappears, but because hope grows stronger than regret. When you choose compassion, you free yourself from becoming what hurt you. You refuse to pass pain from one generation to another. You become someone whose words heal instead of wound, whose presence comforts instead of condemns, whose life reminds others that gentleness is not weakness but remarkable strength. People may never remember every conversation you had with them. They may forget the advice you offered. They may not recall every accomplishment or success, but they will remember how your presence made them feel. A peaceful heart leaves gentle footprints wherever it walks. It creates places where fear no longer has the final word, where understanding grows, where hope quietly returns. Do not underestimate the influence of a forgiving spirit. It changes families. It restores friendships. It strengthens communities. Sometimes it transforms the very person who once caused the hurt. And even when it does not change them, it changes you. That is enough. Carry compassion like a lantern through the darker moments of life. Let it illuminate your choices when anger tempts you to respond without thought. Let forgiveness become a bridge leading you away from resentment and toward freedom. Protect your inner peace as you would protect a precious garden, removing the weeds of bitterness before they choke the flowers of joy. For in the end, the greatest victory is not proving that someone else was wrong. The greatest victory is refusing to let their wrongness define your heart. A life rooted in forgiveness and nourished by compassion becomes a life that cannot easily be shaken. It discovers that peace is not found in changing everyone around us. Peace is found in becoming the kind of person whose heart remains generous, steady, and full of grace, even when the world forgets how to be. Build unshakable self-worth that doesn't depend on others. There is a voice within every human heart that speaks long before the world begins its conversation. It is a quiet voice. It does not compete with applause, nor does it surrender to criticism. It simply reminds us day after day that our value was never meant to be measured by the changing opinions of other people. Yet many of us spend years searching outside ourselves for what has always been waiting within. We wait for someone to approve of our dreams before we dare to pursue them. We wait for compliments before believing we are enough. We wait for acceptance before allowing ourselves to stand tall. In that waiting, we slowly hand over the keys to our happiness. We invite strangers, acquaintances, friends, and even those who barely know us to decide how we should feel about ourselves. It is a heavy burden to place upon another person, and an even heavier burden to carry within our own hearts. There comes a day, however, when wisdom quietly knocks upon the door of the soul. It asks a question that changes everything. Who were you before the world told you who to be? Before comparisons became your mirror? Before rejection became your teacher? Before fear persuaded you to shrink your light so others would feel more comfortable? Somewhere beneath every disappointment, every harsh word, and every forgotten dream, that original self still lives. It has not disappeared. It has simply been waiting for your attention. Self-worth is not something another person can hand to you. It is not hidden inside a compliment. It does not arrive with success, wealth, recognition, or popularity. Those things may decorate a life, but they cannot define it. A magnificent tree does not become valuable because someone admires its shade. It remains valuable even in an empty field where no one pauses to notice its beauty. Its strength comes from deep roots, not passing applause. So it is with your life. If your roots reach only as far as other people's opinions, every criticism becomes a storm capable of uprooting your confidence. But if your roots reach deep into truth, integrity, compassion, and purpose, no passing season can destroy what has been carefully cultivated within you. The world is filled with voices eager to assign labels. Some will say you are too quiet. Others will insist you speak too boldly. Some will tell you your dreams are unrealistic. Others will wonder why you settled for dreams that were too small. If you spend your life chasing every opinion, you will discover that satisfaction always remains just beyond your reach. For every person who applauds you, another may question your choices. For every door that opens, another may close. The opinions will change. The truth of who you are does not. There is extraordinary freedom in no longer introducing yourself through the eyes of those who misunderstand you. You begin instead to recognize yourself through your values. You become known first and foremost by your honesty, your kindness, your perseverance, and your willingness to continue growing. That kind of identity cannot be stolen. Life will offer moments that test this understanding. There will be days when someone overlooks your efforts, moments when your generosity goes unnoticed, times when your character is questioned by people who have never taken the time to know your heart. These experiences can either convince you that you are less than enough, or they can become gentle reminders that your worth has never depended upon another person's ability to recognize it. The sun rises every morning whether anyone is awake to admire it. The flowers bloom whether crowds gather in the garden or not. The ocean continues its rhythm whether people stand upon the shore or remain far away. Nature teaches this lesson without speaking a single word. Its beauty is not dependent upon observation. Its purpose is not determined by applause. You are invited to live with that same quiet confidence. Do your work with excellence because excellence reflects your character. Speak with kindness because kindness reflects your heart. Walk with integrity because integrity reflects your deepest convictions. Do these things whether anyone notices or not. Character built in private becomes strength revealed in public. Comparison has stolen peace from countless lives. It whispers that someone else's success somehow diminishes your own. It encourages you to measure your journey against people whose roads you were never meant to travel. Yet every flower blossoms according to its own season. The oak does not envy the rose. The river does not compete with the mountain. Each fulfills its purpose by becoming fully what it was created to be. You were never asked to become another person. You were invited to become the fullest expression of your own gifts. Celebrate the goodness you see in others without questioning the goodness placed within you. There is enough light for every star to shine. Enough beauty for every soul to contribute something meaningful. Enough hope for every life to leave a lasting kindness behind. The heart grows stronger each time it refuses to believe the lie that worth must be earned through perfection. Perfection is a destination no human being reaches. Growth, however, is available every day. Allow yourself to make mistakes without condemning your entire identity. Learn, apologize when necessary, improve, then continue walking forward. A single failure cannot define a faithful life. One difficult chapter does not become the entire story. One person's rejection cannot erase the value that has always belonged to you. Perhaps the greatest act of courage is simply this: to stand before the mirror each morning and greet yourself with the same compassion you so freely offer others. Speak gently to your own heart. Encourage yourself when progress feels slow. Honor the quiet victories no one else sees. The decision not to respond in anger, the choice to remain honest when dishonesty would have been easier, the willingness to forgive, the determination to begin again after disappointment. These victories shape a beautiful life. One day you will encounter criticism that once would have unsettled you. The words may sound familiar, but your heart will respond differently. Instead of searching for proof that you are unworthy, you will quietly examine whether the criticism contains wisdom. If it does, you will grow from it. If it does not, you will release it without resentment. That is the confidence born from genuine self-worth. It is neither pride nor arrogance. It does not require superiority. It simply rests in the peaceful knowledge that your identity cannot be rewritten by passing opinions. Carry yourself with quiet dignity. Let humility and confidence walk side by side within you. Continue learning, continue serving, continue becoming, but never surrender your value to voices that cannot see the full story of your life. For the strongest foundation is built not upon praise that comes today and disappears tomorrow, but upon the enduring truth that every life possesses inherent worth. When your confidence grows from that truth, criticism may visit, disappointment may knock, and misunderstanding may linger for a season, yet none of them will possess the power to shake the ground beneath your feet. You will stand with calm assurance, knowing that your worth was never created by human approval and therefore can never be destroyed by human opinion.